Next. Hi everyone, Nathaniel Tano here, the internet's busiest music nerd. And it's time for a review of this new Nas album, Magic 2. Brand new LP from Queens rap legend Nas. Magic 2, a sequel to his 2021 Magic album that I'm surprised we're even getting a sequel to. Mostly because he's already knee-deep in the King's Disease album series, or I imagine he's just about to start another one. As lately he's been working really closely with super producer Hit-Boy for one album after the next, resulting in a fantastic trilogy of records. But in the midst of this series, we got a short, spare album titled Magic, which seemed kind of supplemental to King's Disease 2, or was just there to hold us over until we got the third installment in the series. And Magic 2 is giving roughly the same vibe. It's kind of short, and while the material here is acceptable, it's not King's Disease levels of quality. What makes this thing feel even more extra is Nas just kind of tossed on that 21 Savage track that he did at the end of last year in order to kind of smooth over perceptions that there was beef between the both of them. Obviously, that song is fine. It's okay, and that's also kind of the case for the rest of what's here. But, you know, even when Nas and Hit-Boy are not at their hardest, their stuff is still worth spinning. We have a short intro on the project that leads into the track Abracadabra, which is a really mild start to the record with some mid-weight drums, as well as vague and faint synth arpeggios. Nas coming through with the triplet flow, sounding more comfortable than ever over trap-adjacent instrumentals, but I still don't feel like he's at full power here on this track, because while his delivery is fine, the lyrical focus is just kind of average for him. He's spitting a lot, but he's not exactly saying a lot. Like, him and Hit-Boy have worked together a bunch of times, and they make really good records. We know. However, there is a spare bar where he says, by the time y'all hear this, we will be halfway through the next one, so at least we got a teaser. The heat kind of turns up, though, on the track Office Hours. We have some classic boom-bap drums on this track, some nostalgic vocal samples haunting the background of the mix, and Nas is talking some big historical talk on this track, with some strong creative bars like, "And for those who want my position, you gotta step inside a time machine and come back with a vengeance." Deeper into the track, he also gets into trends he's influenced, as well as past beefs that he regrets engaging in. Also, lives he's spared. In this moment, he's kind of bestowing himself a whole lot of egotistical benevolence, but whatever. In this spirit of peace, he takes a moment to throw a compliment out to 50 Cent and even feature him on this track, which, if you guys know, they did have some static between each other at one time. It's cool to see that smoothed over, but the 50 appearance on this track is trash. His husky delivery and flow doesn't really fit the vibe of the song, and only part of the way through his appearance does he rap. He kind of devolves into just kind of ranting at one point and just kind of sounds maybe a bit too excited to be there. Black Magic sees Nas hopping onto an instrumental with a classic laid-back southern hip-hop sound. There are some lyrical allusions to black magic, hexes, superstitions, general spookiness, also the magic of hip-hop and black music generally. There's a lot of numbers on this track, but they're not adding up in quite the way they would when Nas is coming through with more complex lyrical equations. The track Motion is just some more straight up boom bap with some much stronger flows, but I think the weak point of this track has to be the chorus. One of the weakest hooks on this project for sure. We have in motion, we have in motion. But on BOKEEM Woodbine, Hit-Boy really goes off with some kind of eerie reggae flip with a lot of fragmented keys and rhythms and watery guitar hits. And Nas is just flowing over this beat like it's a freestyle, not a whole lot of structure to it or anything like that, but it works. Irvin Magic Johnson brings more victory lap vibes, which has been a pretty consistent theme of the King's Disease series so far. Nas just basically enjoying the spoils of his labor and artistic success, which sounds fine, sounds nice, except for the moments where we get a few weak rhyme schemes. Family ties, squad ties, money ties, suit and ties, shoes tied, ready to ride, choose a side. A listenable leftover, but a leftover all the same. The record doesn't really come through with a song I'm completely in love with until we hit What This All Really Means, which features a lot of sentimental piano and string samples, a groovy beat and bass line too. And while thematically this is not the first time we've heard Nas comparing the past to the present, reflecting and all that, it continues to be a source of emotional inspiration for him. And he sounds great doing it. And in a nutshell, this track is essentially about kind of going back to the days where he he was 17 and being able to look back on everything he has accomplished and done up until now, and finally being able to see the meaning in all of it. The last memorable moment on this thing has to be Pistols on Your album cover, which gives us more hip-hop nostalgia from Eric B. and Rakim to KRS-One. It's a sentimental send-off with one of the hardest opening lines on this entire project. Eyes blurry, saying goodbye at the cemetery. I've murdered dudes on wax and forget where they buried. So not only is this track a tribute to hip-hop in general, its early days in many ways, but also the way violent imagery has been laced into its key records over the years, via beef, pistols, or even radical politics, like in the case of Boogie Down Productions. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this album. It's decent. It's okay. It's not nearly one of the best projects Nas and Hit-Boy have released as of late, but I don't think it's supposed to be. Just like with the last Magic album, this thing mostly feels like kind of spares, leftovers that will most likely bridge us into a much better project in the very near future if what Nas says is true, that they're halfway done with another record. I'm feeling a light to decent 6 on this one. Transition, have you given this record a listen? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? You're the best, you're the best. What should I review next? Hit the like if you like, please subscribe, and please don't cry. Hit the bell as well. Over here next to my head, it's another video you can check out. Hit that up with a link to subscribe to the channel. Anthony Fantano, Nas, Hit-Boy of Forever.